on the first challenge from Smith and Nephew, and the title of this challenge is deliver better medical product knowledge through extended reality technology. So we're talking about immersive video here, and the crux of the challenge is how can we use extended reality technologies to better deliver product information that is complex and abstract, right, for healthcare professionals, right? So the speaker will be from Smith and Nephew, and she's none other than Miss Ella Post, Marketing Director for Shoulder, Hip, and Biologics, Sports Medicine at APAC, Smith and Nephew, and she's a veteran at Smith and Nephew. She's been based in Singapore right now, and she's working with the regional marketing team for APAC, right, in the sports medicine franchise at Smith and Nephew. She's been with Smith and Nephew for 11 years, over a decade, right? And the last 3 years have been in Singapore, and before that, she was based in the UK, and she's had various diverse experience within, sales management, and regional marketing, and so on. So she is very experienced in this field of, sports medicine, technologies, I believe. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to invite Miss Ella Post, Marketing Director from APAC for Smith & Nephew, to present on this challenge. Ella, please take it away. You're very welcome. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you see the slides?
Yes, we can see the slides. Nice and yeah.
Great. Brilliant. So apologies, I'm having some IT connection issues this morning, and I'm actually in the UK at the moment. So apologies for the lighting, but it's essentially pitch black outside. So anyway, we shall get on with it. So thank you to IMDA for this morning. I'm looking forward to sharing the challenge that we have around XR development, specifically to do with how we communicate and share complex technologies with our customers is where we would like to focus in the development of XR technology. So the agenda for you today, but just some introductions. So Smith & Nephew is an organization. We're a $5 billion multi-medical device company. We develop, manufacture, sell, and also distribute many different technologies, lots of cutting edge and complex technologies, particularly in the orthopedic reconstruction, advanced wound management, and sports medicine areas. So we're dealing predominantly with healthcare professionals, but of course with payers and sometimes direct to patient as well. And as an organization, what we see is, the opportunity that we have with these particularly more complex technologies is to make a huge impact on patient outcomes and patient lives. But with the customer that we deal with healthcare professionals, particularly with surgeons, which is what we're talking about in orthopedics or with sports medicine, those individuals are very time pressured. And when we're in the interaction where we're being able to talk about the technology, we need to make sure that we're able to translate the benefits of a very complex technology in a very short period of time. And that as our technologies have developed, we're moving away from something that we'd be demonstrating more physically, and we're having to now sell or talk about the benefits of something that is not very tangible. So it's maybe something to do with a biological property, or we're trying to get them to visualize how the product works, as opposed to being able to physically demonstrate it. And we know that these product technologies have steep learning curves. And previously we've had, as I said, a high dependence on physical demonstrations. So as an introduction to our challenge, we're essentially seeking new ways to deliver those more abstract and complex medical knowledge behind products. And we think that either augmented reality or maybe a blended reality might be the way to do that, from the research that I have done. And that's basically to enable our customer to better visualize and understand the intangible benefits of a technology. So that might be predominantly the mode of action, so how it actually works, but linking that very clearly and distinctly to both the clinical and economic benefits of that technology as well. So making sure we can link and do that basically in a very immersive way is the way we have the vision really for this. So our problem statement, as we have defined it, is that we know that for our business, successful launches of complex technologies are hugely important, but we also know that they can bring with them certain challenges. And as I say, with those more complex, intangible technologies, one of the challenges is definitely about communicating very clearly and consistently with every sales rep individual in our team to every customer that intangible mode of action, what is the clinical and what is the potential economical benefit of utilizing this technology. We know that with those more complex technologies, traditional methods, sales methods aren't connecting as well emotionally with the customer. And when we're selling more complex, more expensive technology, as I said, that need to be understood from an intangible perspective, we feel that that emotional connection is even more, and that more traditional transactional sales methodology is not as powerful here. But of course, we've also had restricted interaction with the customer. So anything we can do to drive engagement with the customer through extended realities, we think could play a big role here. So what we want to understand is how understand and demonstrate through the development of something, how we can use extended reality technologies to better deliver product information that's both complex and abstract. And that's to basically better equip healthcare professionals with a better care plan for their patients. So we're looking very very specifically at a solution for the sales person to use. So you'll hear from a colleague of mine shortly with a different challenge. We have a very strong medical education department. We are, I think, already utilizing some of the extended reality technologies within medical education. I think we're doing a fairly good job there for Smith Nephew. I think that within the sales conversation, we haven't really utilized this enough. So what we want our solution to do is to be able to deliver the sales messaging, engage our customer in a very immersive experience, to essentially increase the adoption curve and financial success of our complex technologies. Provide a very immersive experience that allows us to connect with the customer emotionally. And as I say, really helps us deliver, and I think this is the key here, that it's consistent and reproducible messaging for these technologies. So we know that we will always be very reliant on the sales force, but what we want to be able to do is enhance the sales force and the experience the customer has by starting that process in a very consistent and reproducible, immersive way, so that the fundamentals of the mode of action of the technology, the high level clinical benefits, can be understood through the interaction of an extended reality. So what we're looking for, we're proposing that this is done with a very specific technology that we have within the portfolio. So this is going to be a product from our sports medicine division. So I work within the sports medicine division at Smith Nephew in the marketing team. We would like to have a working prototype solution, basically, that will allow us to support healthcare professionals to easily explore and understand a complex medical technology. And in this instance, this is a product called Regeniten. So I've got a picture of that here for you, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail shortly. And for that prototype, we essentially would like a solution that would focus on, as I said, enabling the HCP to better understand Smith Nephew's Regeniten technology. This is a complex technology, and it definitely is so it's essentially a biologic, which means that what you see here, so this square, this is the inside of an animation of the inside of the shoulder. And this is essentially like a sheet of tissue paper, which does a lot more than that, but essentially allows the tendon to regrow itself and to thicken. We do that through a biological process. So as you can imagine, we're not talking about actually how we put this piece of this implant here on top of the tendon and how we attach it. Yes, that's important. We need to be able to do that to reap the benefit, but how the product actually works, we can't demonstrate particularly well, or in enough of an immersive way for the customer to truly understand how the biologic properties of the product work. We have that understanding, but we think we can do that in a more immersive way. So just a little bit of background about why this is important in this instance with this technology. This product is used in something called a rotator cuff repair. So this is an injury you can have in your shoulder. It's usually a chronic injury. So it's usually from overuse of the shoulder over time. You might hear people moaning or people saying they've got lots of shoulder pain in their shoulder, and they might get something called a torn rotator cuff. That's when a tendon in your shoulder is torn off, and therefore you lose function. So you can't do things like lift your arm up, brush your teeth, brush your hair, do any overhead lifting, and you also have lots of pain. And there's a very robust, very good standard surgical protocol for dealing with rotator cuff tears. We fix the tendon back down onto the bone with anchors. And from a medical device perspective, we know that and for our surgeons, so for our customers and for our sales reps, we have been selling anchors for a really long time, and we're pretty good at that. It's very easy to demonstrate an anchor. They get screwed into the bone, and you basically tie some suture over the top and hold that piece of tissue down. And what's happened is, initially we had to sell anchors and how to use them. Pretty simple, because we could do a physical demonstration. Then we had different materials of the anchors, probably a little bit more intangible, but still could get the product out. The surgeon could touch it, feel it, whether they were going to use something like that was metal or something plastic. Then, they can still feel that product and that material, and they can see how it's going to work. And that's really dealing for the customer with the mechanical fixation of the rotator cuff. And now what we want to address is the biological environment in the shoulder, and that's when it becomes very intangible. And that's where this product Regeniten had a huge role to play. We have a lot of exceptional clinical data behind this product, but we need to be able to explain the intangible. So what this product does, what Regeniten does, is it induces new tendon-like tissue and basically promotes the natural healing of the rotator cuff. Which, if you can imagine, sounds almost quite voodoo, and it's not. And we understand how it works, but how do we articulate that, or how do we support our sales team in articulating that message? Because what we do is we essentially stop disease progression. So, as I said, rotator cuff repair is chronic injury. We stop the disease progression with Regeniten. But it's also completely reabsorbed and gone within 6 months. But what we're left with is a more healthy, thickened, much more healthy tissue than what the patient started with, which is much better and proven for better patient outcomes, faster return to work. All of these great benefits to both the patient and the healthcare systems can be derived from the use of this technology. And we just need to bridge that gap of communication, really, for understanding how Regeniten works and getting the customer to better understand that more quickly. So just quickly, what are we looking for? So an immersive product experience to optimize the learning for the HCP. So as I said, our customers are pretty time starved. We often have a very short period of time to engage with them. So we need something immersive, engaging, and allows us to really visualize how the products will help their patients. We would potentially use whatever solution it is to help train the sales team, but that still very much sits with Smith Nephew as an organization. This is really focused, this development is focused on the interaction with the HCP specifically. So, but the sales team would also potentially use that to improve their training and understanding as well. But we need this to be immersive, but also easily utilized. So this is why we've said it could be XR, but we, for example, are not going to roll in a simulator, something that we use very effectively for our medical education. It's not optimal. We can't give it to every rep. We still need something, if it is XR, that could be easily carried around and is not too expensive for our sales teams to utilize, but would be still give that very immersive experience, as I say. So it needs to be created and optimized to suit those possibilities. So, it needs to be as interactive as possible, but we might have limitations with what whether it is just through a flat screen or whether it's part haptic. But we need it to not be a huge investment per salesperson, for example, and can be easily transportable as well. And what's in it, excuse me, for you? So there's a $40,000 prize money for each winner of the challenge. The award model is available from IMDA, I think, for more details. You gain access to IMDA's technology resources and facility for prototyping. You gain access to the expertise related to this project and test resources, and be an opportunity to be a co-developer or supplier with Smith Nephew as we actually commercialize this solution. And I think from Smith Nephew's perspective, from my perspective, from our company's perspective, we think this is a really exciting space. We think this is going to have huge benefit both to us as an organization, but to our customers, and therefore by extension to our patients, to get them better, quicker access to better technologies, which essentially improve patient outcomes. And therefore, this is a really exciting opportunity, I think, because whatever we develop for this product, for Regeneten, which is a product that will be sold throughout the globe, although this will be initially developed for the Asia Pacific region, in line with the launch in a few different markets. This can certainly be extended to global Smith Nephew. But we believe that if we can demonstrate this value through this development of this, that this will be something that will be far more widely adopted across Smith Nephew, in multiple franchises with multiple products. So we really do see this as a long-term investment, and we're utilizing this opportunity, this forum, this ability, this way to work with IMDA to really start identifying and working with the right people so that we can develop that really long-term strategy for the combining of XR solutions and how we utilize that from a sales conversation perspective. Here's the evaluation criteria for you, but it'll be around the solution fit. So how does this solve that problem that I've hopefully been able to articulate well to you? What's the solution readiness? What's the advantage, if any, of using those technologies or the pilot? How cost effective is it? And linking it back to the company profile. And the deadline would be 28th of January at 4 o'clock. And IMDA, I think, can hopefully answer any other questions from that. So hopefully I haven't taken up too much of the time that we needed there, and we've got some time left for questions.
Thank you very much, Ella. You did find a very, very good presentation, and we have plenty of time for Q&A. But I gotta tell you that the moment you talked about, Regeneten and how it affect the shoulder, right? My shoulder started aching, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about how Regeneten can help people like me, aching bones and all that. But thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, the potential is immense for this prototype because Smith and Nephew is a global company, and they're located in over 100 countries. So can you imagine the scale of, if this solution is successful, this kind of scale that we're looking at. So it's very exciting possibilities here. And I'd like to move on to the questions for Ella from this presentation. And let's see. Okay. First question from the floor is about, Ella, can you share more about the issues, for example, the compatibility with the operating system, the integration and localization that you faced when you prototype with augmented reality and interactive PDFs previously?
Yeah, absolutely. So personally, from my perspective, we have not done this. So I think interactive PDFs were usually fine. There was a project done in a different franchise within Smith Nephew where there was an AR app developed, and we ran into problems with compatibility for sure. We have tried to get to the root of the problem about whether that sat on Smith Nephew's side or with the co-developer. But there have been issues in the past, definitely with compatibility, and I don't think we as an organization help ourselves because we don't have much consistency with platforms. So for example, you might have one market that is on a certain type of iPad and then others that don't have iPads and have phones, for example. But we can give that information. We know with Regeneten which markets we want to concentrate on. We also have strong support from IT with this submission, full visibility of what we want to do and achieve. So I think we'll have really good alignment with the support of IT here to make sure that and hopefully with the right developer, that we're not going to run into those compatibility issues, software upgrades, meaning things can't be utilized, that kind of thing.
All right, thank you, Ella. A great answer there. Okay, moving on for another question from Ansad. Okay, hi Ansad, thank you for another question. And this question is, hi Ella, can you elaborate how the new solution could equip the sales person with the product knowledge, product know-how, and assist him in the selling process? So how would this help the salesperson?
Yeah, absolutely. So the sales process as it stands currently, what we can observe is that we need to have multiple sales calls and conversations, as I say, and that's really because we're trying to explain how something works that excuse me, we can't get out and demonstrate. And from the customer perspective, they really want to believe that Regenetem works with how we can explain that it works. But it takes a long time to understand how the product has been made, how it works in terms of, we're really talking about them placing something in the shoulder and trusting that it does its job rather than doing something that they do in theatre, which they're used to doing. And then connecting all of that with clinical outcome data that's published, and then potentially how the economics of that can affect the healthcare system. So to answer your question, how we hope to see this solution make a difference is to either decrease or accelerate the conversion time period. And we think that will be because we will be able to hopefully capture the imagination or the attention. So that might be threefold: capture the attention and the engagement of the customer because of the immersive experience. Therefore, the customer is potentially more engaged and more listening, because what I can say is that our sales teams are often, having this conversation while the surgeon is scrubbing their hands and getting ready for surgery. It's very difficult to get a good segmented period of time. Of course, they don't need to be utilizing this in that instance. They will need to get some sit down period, but it might be between cases. But we know that if we can get them immersed, they will then give you dedicated time to really go into this in more detail. So threefold, sorry. So one, we get their attention in that immersive experience. Therefore, they are more engaged and hopefully listen. But within that period, when they're listening, we're able to be very consistent with what we communicate because we're doing it through a immersive platform. So, we have very, very good sales teams. We, of course, have different performance and different ways that people sell, which is fine. We feel that with these kinds of technologies, having at least starting the sales conversation with a really integrated immersive experience that sets the conversation off on a certain way and hits some of the key messages in one go will really help with the sales rep when they have to go backwards and forwards and discuss with the customer. And that thirdly, that our understanding is that from all the research that we've done, that XR really gives us an opportunity to connect better with the emotional part of the customer. And that's where we really see that we can make a difference with this, because as I say, we are trying to change the standard of care. And they have been doing a good job of treating their patients, but we're really able to offer something that significantly can affect the patient outcome, but of course is also expensive, unfortunately. So we need to be able to have that emotional connection with the customer, I think, to translate the true benefits of the technology.
Okay,
I hope that answers
Ella.
the question.
Yeah, I think that answers the question very well. I believe you also kind of answered the next question, which is kind of related, because the next question was about, I believe it's about what is the main challenge faced by healthcare, I think healthcare professionals, HCPs, when trying to understand the product.
Yeah.
So you kind of covered that as well. So
sure.
So thank you very much for that. It's two questions in one answer. That's brilliant. Okay. Up next we have that's a question from Andrew. Andrew, I'm not sure it's relevant, but I'll just ask Ella to consider. Okay, Andrew is asking, hi Ella, would Smith and Nephew consider emotion detection to improve patient injury pain recovery? Would that be relevant to this challenge, Ella?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Would Smith and Nephew consider emotion detection to improve patient injury pain recovery?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Is that,
okay.
That's
yeah.
Apologies.
I tell you what, I'm going to invite Andrew to write in via the email, the info@openedge.sg,
Yeah,
and we'll
sure.
compile the question and we'll send to you after this, right? So because right now I think it's early morning in London, we don't want to spoil your breakfast.
No,
So Andrew, I invite you to
but
write in
no,
your
no,
question, via the email, all right?
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
answer it separately. Thank you very much. Okay, up next from, okay, Min Idris, he says, greetings, Ella, lovely presentation. In view of the rise of technology with medical simulations for training and education for institutions and companies, are you looking for a solution more suited for the business and sales and marketing portion of the products? Oh, this is a tough question.
100%. Absolutely.
Okay.
That is
Absolutely,
exactly
okay.
what we're looking for. Yeah.
Okay.
To be used by the sales team. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I think not for I mean, it may translate slightly to med ed, but we like they've rightly highlighted simulators. I think we already have a good plan with that. This is very much for the commercial entity to use, definitely.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you very much. Okay, a question from Ricky, and Ricky is asking, where do we learn more about the clinical pathway for this Regeneten product? Wow, Ricky is very interested in Regeneten, just like me.
Yeah. Of course. So there is a lots of information on the Smith Nephew website. This is, this technology has been launched globally. It's been used in the US for multiple years. So there is a lot of information on there. If you also want to learn more, there is also something called Education Unlimited by Smith Nephew. It's not the corporate website. It's a website for HCPs, but you can sign up. Just need to make an account. And if you search for Regeneten in there, there's lots of information around how the product is used, testimonials. There's also videos, animations, but also all the clinical data as well. And then if anybody needs anything else, any better information about Regeneten, that will help with their submission, then I'm very happy to be contacted for that information. I'm responsible for Regeneten, the launch and the management of that product across Asia Pacific. So I can certainly be the contact for that.
All right, thank you very much for the offer, Ella. We'll take you up on it. Okay, coming next from Gulame Dikawar. I believe your question is, what added value do you think AR will bring that 3D does not already bring?
Yeah, it's a good question and something we've gone back and forth on. What I hope it will be is even more immersive. And I think that what we find is, we all see so much video all the time anyway, right? And it's the same for our customers. So the research that we have seen is that the more immersive we can make the experience, the better connected the customer is. And that's really our hope, is that this will be, will gain the attention of our customer. And of course, as I say, this is to assist the sales rep. We're not going to expect this to hand this, AR experience over to the customer and then go, take it off and go, okay, great, I want to buy Regeneten. But we want it to really assist the sales team with setting the scene for the technology. So for me, I think the more immersive it can be, hopefully, the more engaging it is. And then that's the research that we have seen from many other, areas of not in medical devices, but many other areas that it can prove that. But this is our opportunity, I think, to road test that with our customers as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Ella. Okay, Ella, in the interest of time, I'm trying to combine 3 questions from the floor, and I hope I can give one general answer for them. Okay, I believe they all revolve around who is the target customer for this solution, because there's a question from Samuel about whether is this solution for the medical staff to explain the product to the customers, I presume the patients, or is it for the marketing team, or is it for is it for the surgeon? Are you marketing this to surgeons, for example? So I think the audience wants to know who is the target market for this solution. Yeah, the priority market.
Yeah, great question. So our primary customer are orthopedic surgeons. So they are the people that make the decision about what technology is going to be used. That's not so. The simple answer is orthopedic surgeons. But our vision, if possible, is that our customers may potentially be able to utilize this if we can get them access to it, to explain to their patients this technology that might be used on them, and also use it as a tool if the patient, for example, needs to pay for the technology. But primary target, orthopedic surgeons. Secondary target would be either the patient or the payer, and then also could be utilized with support staff, for example. But I don't feel like it needs to be a training module on how to put the product together. If it does that, great, but I'm much more interested in explaining the intangible way that it works rather than how you put it together. It's actually not that complex with how you put it together from a building standpoint and utilizing it in theatre. The reps are really good at talking through that. So it's very much with the orthopedic surgeon first and foremost.
Thank you very much, Ella. You've answered 3 questions in one shot, so that must be a record for Innovation Thursday. Okay, we are a bit tight on time, so I'd like to answer one question. I believe is a burning question on the minds of many of our tech solvers, and this comes from Iswaran. And Iswaran asking, so Ella, is there any target price for this solution that will help in developing the right fidelity of solution? So what's the target price for the solution?
Yeah, I mean, we don't really know that either. I would say that we don't really want to be spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. In something. We want to develop something, I think, that is not going to be anywhere. My feeling is between $100,000, but that would be total across the whole project, including the prize money. I think that is also dependent, right? If we get something, but we don't have a limited budget, so it's difficult for me to answer that, because we again are trying to better understand how much we need to spend to get the right experience. There is full support to do this project and do it so it's successful, but it also needs to work for us from a budget perspective.
Okay, thank you. And I'd just like to say that basically what happens is that Smith and Nephew and Ella's team, right, will basically will talk with the winning tech solver, right, to negotiate all the terms and conditions of the prototype development. So you guys will be able to work it out once you win the challenge. So basically, you can actually have the the chance to talk to Smith and Nephew once you win the challenge. So basically, good luck to you guys. Ella, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you for presenting a lot about the benefits of Regenerator. I'm very convinced now. My shoulder is still aching, but I look forward to having the demonstration of the interactive, the extended reality version of it, so I can understand better how it works across the board. But thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, if you have more questions for Ella, right, do write into our email at info@openinnovation.sg. We will compile your questions and send it on to Ella and team. So thank you very much, Ella. Have a great week ahead, and good morning to you in London. Thank you very much. Yeah.